Billy Zane is one of the finest actors of his generation, and in his long career, the award winner has played a superhero, a villain, a henchman. He's even played himself. Billy's latest project is the Aussie sci-fi action-adventure Blue World Order, and we'll speak to him in a moment, but first, let's take a look back at a few of Billy's career highlights.
Oh, hey, Biff. Hey, guys. How are you doing?
You got my homework finished, McFly?
Billy Zane's career started on a high in the smash hit Back to the Future, and he reprised his role in the sequel.
We can do this the easy way or the hard way.
He starred alongside a relatively unknown Nicole Kidman in the Aussie thriller Dead Calm.
You think I'm making this up?
No, I don't.
Billy took a dip into the small screen in the groundbreaking Twin Peaks.
Thank God for that.
And he pulled on the purple lycra for the big-budget flick, The Phantom.
Pardon my error.
But it was James Cameron's Titanic that cemented Billy's place in cinematic history.
A real man makes his own luck, Archie. Right, Dawson?
Billy earned Best Villain nomination for his role as Kate Winslet's snobbish millionaire fiancé.
We are royalty, Rose.
Zoolander showed off his comic side.
Listen to your friend Billy Zane. He's a cool dude.
And in the TV series Charmed, his vocal abilities. Please welcome Billy Zane to Studio 10. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. How are you, my dear?
Billy Zane on our couch. We are thrilled.
I'm blushing. But unfortunately, there's a monitor backstage as well. Yes.
You are very good at playing the villain, and you've played a lot of villains over the years. Does it feel good to be bad on screen?
For a few months. Yes. They always have the best clothes and the cutest female sidekick, and no, it's a fun role I like to approach from a slightly humorous
you are very
point
funny.
of view. You let the facts do the talking and the circumstances, and then you don't gild the lily by coming in being particularly aggressive. I think people perhaps respond to a bit of counterpoint I bring to those kinds of characters.
So your first role was in Back to the Future, and you played the bad guy next to Biff, Big Bad Biff, which I think we have some footage of. But did that sort of, propel you into the stratosphere? There you are.
Into the stratosphere? No, into the just low Earth orbit, I think, at that point. Dead Calm was probably the film that really sealed my fate in typecasting for a bit.
That was the one you made with Nicole Kidman, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah.
And playing, Bastards at Sea became my
That was a scary movie.
MO.
It was terrifying.
Yes, I thought it was
Brilliant
very
film.
scary.
Philip Noyce directed, and George Miller produced. It was probably I think my favorite cinematic experience in filming. It was my introduction to the stellar Australian cruise, which I had the good fortune of repeating 4 more times. We filmed
a very young Nicole Kidman. What was it like working with her?
She was a consummate professional. She was 19 and more mature than anyone on the set.
19? Was she 19?
Yeah, she was an amazingly talented girl.
And then, of course, there was Titanic, where you also played the bad guy. And I think, and this is controversial, Australia, I know, I think you are better looking than Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah.
There you go, I said it.
Thank you.
You've obviously got to
He's a very good-looking fella.
You've obviously got to think about being bad on troubled boats.
I was going to say, just add water, instant.
What was it like working on it was the biggest film of all time at the time. What was it like just working on a production of that scale?
Humbling every day.
Very different boat, ship to the one you had on Dead Calm.
Slightly larger.
A little bit larger, yes.
Yeah.
They engaged civic engineers and people who normally did not work on films to pull that off. So every day there were thousands of people milling about as if it was a massive construction site. It was an insane undertaking. I had the utmost respect for every level of that execution. It was amazing.
Because the scale of it was just enormous. I remember at the time, I think they actually constructed a ship that was almost as big as the Titanic.
9/10 the actual size.
And then sunk it. There were budget overruns, the whole thing blew out. When you were working on it, did you think this is just this is the most amazing thing, this is going to be the biggest film of all time? Or do you think, oh my God, this thing is actually never going to see the light of day because...
It's going to sink like the Titanic.
I fell somewhere in between. We knew we were making something significant. We, I guess the actors, perhaps, let's say. Production were sweating it. They had no idea, and they thought, I'm certain they thought they were in trouble. But every day I knew we were making something really quite special. Did we know it was going to be a phenomenon? No, not at that scale.
We have so much more we'd like to talk to you about.
Please.
Will you stay?
Gladly.
We're going to find out why Billy Zane is in Australia right after this break. Don't go anywhere. The Titanic star Billy Zane is our special guest this morning, and we are absolutely thrilled to have him on Studio 10. Let's make Billy welcome. You've been in the country working on the Aussie film Blue World Order. What's it about?
It's a futurist, post-apocalyptic action adventure, which Australia is. It seems to be, synonymous with Australia.
When people think apocalypse, they think Australia.
Let's go to Australia, which is totally incongruous because it's the most benign and beautiful country on the planet. But I had the good fortune of meeting almost 20 years ago a young filmmaker, would-be filmmaker, named Che Baker on a project I did in North Carolina. And he was working on a television series, Dawson Creek, and was applying for a job in a film I had done there. I leveraged that a little bit because I understood his affinity for the craft, and he worked on the project. 20 years later, we've stayed in touch. He's managed to write and publish 2 sci-fi novels, one of which he is now directing of his own story. I mean, I don't know of anyone who writes a book, then directs the film of it. So that is a stellar achievement, to say the least, by any definition.
Yeah, either that or just showing off.
Well, it's a miracle.
And are you working with a couple of Australian actors, Bruce Spence and Jack Thompson in
Correct.
this film? Yeah.
You know, legends. Another reason I had to jump aboard. So when Che said, listen, I'm doing a film, I'd love you to, can you come in for a few days and play this pivotal role? I said, absolutely. And he told me who's in it. And Jack, I had the pleasure of meeting when we were doing The Phantom here. And Bruce, I've always wanted to meet. Stephen Hunter, wonderful New Zealand actor, is in the film. Jake Ryan is our lead, you know, the next export, I'm certain, of, you know, bound for superstardom in the States.
There's a bit of a story behind Jack and Ita. Do you know that Ita put Jack in her magazine back in the day, in the naked part of the magazine?
Australia's first male centrefold, and I picked him.
Well,
Stay with me, you could be famous.
Did he
That leads us to our second question. How do you feel about undressing?
About undressing? For you, Ida?
Thank you very much. What I would like to ask you about is your painting, your artwork. You took up painting, I understand, when you were filming Titanic.
Correct. There was quite a... Oh, I see. Thank you. There was quite a bit of downtime. We were in Mexico filming for the better part of 7 months, and I converted my garage into a studio and started doing what they call action painting, which is, you know, it's abstract expressionism, but the application is on the ground. I guess very Pollock-esque in terms of its applique, but
It is very Pollock.
I find it's not conceptual, it's much more physical, and a great antidote to art by committee, which cinema is. You know, a singular expression was really, it just seemed to feed my...
And do you still paint?
Very often. I just did a piece in Canberra where we were filming.
Jackson Pollock's Blue Poles?
I took a selfie in front of the blue poles, sent that out just today. I tweeted about that. I was thoroughly charmed by Canberra, and I know making a feature there is not a common occurrence.
Nothing's really a common occurrence in Canberra.
Well, it will be for me, and very soon, I have to say. I'm going to be doing a gallery exhibition there.
Fantastic.
Part of the precinct, where the wonderful hotel is, and it's fabulously progressive and modern use of sustainable materials. Just a really great crew of
when's your exhibition?
Mad Greeks. We're working on that right now. I think it's a question. As soon as I can get home and grab the family.
This year?
Oh yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
There you go. Billy Zane led recovery.
I know. Billy Zane, thank you so much for sharing the couch with us this morning.
My great
We've been
pleasure.
very excited to have you.